Hi guys, my name is Darya Hadjian and I'm here to present my chapter. Um, I want to start off by getting you really thinking, getting you in the mode of what I'm in when I was reading this. Start thinking about when you were in middle school, high school level age. Start thinking about some of your funnest or fondest memories. Think about your best friend. Think about how you used to hang out with them, you used to call them on the phone. If you guys didn't have friends and it was your mom, that's okay, because that's what I had. I would call her, text her, and tell her everything. She was the bestest friend I ever had. Mama, you wouldn't believe it, this happened, oh my goodness, I'm at the library and this is happening, and yeah, I was kind of one of those kids, you know. Yeah, awkward. Okay, anyways, so think about like your best memories. Some of my memories were in school and they were good, but some of my memories were in school and they were bad. So I want you to start thinking about that now that you got all bubbly inside and all reminiscing in your brain. And I want you to start thinking about something that's happened to you in school when you were younger, and it resonates in your brain. It hurts your soul sometimes thinking about it. If you never had an experience like that, yes, amen to you. But if you have, I understand the pain, and I'm going to share with you a story that I went through. It was a personal story. It is a personal story. So when I was about 12, I was transferring from Missouri schools to Kansas schools. I lived with my mom, and we went to Missouri schools my whole life, and she said, Missouri schools are losing their accreditation, test scores are dropping. I can't have you over here anymore, Darya. You got to go over to the Kansas schools, and I got to get you the best education I can. As your mom, I want the best for you. Cool. I get to go to Kansas schools? What? I only hear about that kind of stuff on TV. I get to go from Missouri to Kansas. All right. So, am I going to have to wear a uniform? No, I don't have to wear a uniform anymore? Okay. Ooh, how many kids are going to be there? Is it going to be big? Is it going to be small? Ooh, it's going to be fun. So, like, really getting excited, right? Super excited. My brother and sister were really upset. They were like, Darya, you're weird. Nobody wants to leave schools. Why would you want to do this? And I'm like, it's all about the experiences of life. You got to appreciate everything. Just like real happy, excited, thrilled. So we came over to Kansas schools. One of the catches was that Mom worked in Missouri. She worked for Parks and Recreation, so she couldn't leave the city of Kansas City of Missouri. So we had to live with my aunt. She's a good lady. She's a great lady. She took us in. She helped us. I mean, she's amazing, but I don't want to live with somebody else. I want to live with my mom. I want to live in my room. I want to do my own things. I feel like you just sent me off to boarding school somewhere. Oh, geez. Okay. It's okay, because I'm going to meet friends. I'm going to have so much fun. I'm going to do stuff I never did. I don't have to wear uniforms. It's going to be great, right? Okay, so really, 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 I'm excited. This is cool. Nothing can bring me down. So we get to the school, and they signed me up for courses that my mom had originally not signed me up for. Since my mom had us in my aunt's custody, her care at the time, my aunt had to deal with this situation, and she was like, Darya, you're going to take these courses that they signed you up for. But these aren't the ones that my mom signed me up for, so I don't know if I'm supposed to. Maybe I'm somewhere else. Maybe they're a little too much or too less for me. You know, I gotta be right on par. So my mom talked with my aunt and said, this isn't okay. These courses are beneath her. She needs to be at her level or higher because she can do it. It's Darya. Yeah, it's me. Okay? So my aunt, my mom, and the administrators all got together. We had a meeting, and they pretty much stated, I can't tell you what school it was, but they pretty much stated I wasn't at the level of Kansas schools because I came from Missouri schools. So although there was kids that were in 7th grade at this level, since I was from Missouri and I was doing this level, my grade level should be here. And for some reason, for me, I'm just like, what? Did you just call me stupid? Do I look stupid to you? Excuse me. Let me shake off them haters real quick. But my mom, she was really offended. She said that's not okay. You don't treat people like that. If I believe in her, you should believe in her. She's my child. I know my child. And my aunt's like, well, I know my sister, so I believe in my niece. Like, come on now. So they said, okay, fine. We'll put her at this level. But if she doesn't perform well, it's your fault. Oh, excuse me. Oh, okay. I guess y'all don't got no good teachers up in here? Okay. So my mom tells me, she says, hey, Darya, you're going to perform B or A level because we're not dealing with this, okay? We're not. You're a genius. And just building me up, you know. Too late, Mama. I already feel low. I'm from Missouri. I'm one of them kids. There ain't nothing I can do to feel good about this. Like, I feel really low. What if the kids see me and they ask me where I'm from and I say Missouri and they tell me, ew, you don't know nothing. So, it makes me a little sad to think about it because how I felt was like really stupid. Like, stupid. So, from that day on, I told myself, I'm gonna get all A's. Skip this. And now I'm one of them kids. If I don't get an A, I freak. And recently I heard somebody talking about how there's those girls that have to get A's, and if they don't, they're like, oh my God, balling. Yeah, that's me. If I don't get an A, I'm tripping. So that started from that. And my mom was always my support. She always had my back. And I think having that situation impacted me negatively. There were some situations where I just didn't feel comfortable speaking to people. If I hear somebody's from Kansas, I'm still like, oh God, what if they hear my accent? I know I got that Missouri twang. What if they hear some of the word choices I make? Oh no. I get nervous, super nervous. And now I work for Johnson County Department of Corrections, which is ironic because that's in Kansas and I'm from Missouri, and it's just like, I get a little nervous around these people. And I've created this environment that did not need to exist. There was no reason for this segregation that was put upon me in my education system. For them to say, oh, you're from Missouri, so you don't know as much. Like, what? This was in like 2004, so like early 2000s. I don't know. It's just a horrible experience. And I want to go back to my mom. She was in my corner. I was able to have my aunt in my corner, and we were able to sit down and have like this collaboration of minds. Though there was some push at first, they finally opened up and let us do what was in the best interest of me, and I feel like that's helped me a lot. And I wanted to give you this, not so you're like, oh, poor Darya, oh, any of that. No, I want you to actually really understand that without support, there's no way a child can succeed. I mean, it's almost impossible. There's at least one person that helps every single child in this world succeed. Or an animal, I don't know, maybe somebody's getting raised by wolves, I don't know. So that support is needed. With that, I want to jump into what my category or my chapter is, which is individual education program. There's a specific thing in here. It's in the guide to the individualized education program in this little handy dandy packet. It's on page 1. It's on Blackboard if you guys want to print it out and read it. You can pause me. Handy, I know. Okay, so in it, it says, each public school child who receives special education and related services must have an individualized education program, IEP. Each IEP must be designed for one student and must be a truly individualized document. The IEP creates an opportunity for teachers, parents, school administrators, related services personnel, and students when appropriate to work together to improve educational results for children with disabilities. The IEP is the cornerstone of a quality education for each child with a disability. To create an effective IEP, parents, teachers, other school staff, and often the student must come together to look closely at the student's unique needs. What does that sound like? These individuals pool knowledge, experience, and commitment to design an educational program that will help the student be involved in and progress in the general curriculum. The IEP guides the delivery of special education, supports, and services for the student with a disability. Without a doubt, writing and implementing an effective IEP requires teamwork. That all tied in together to say that as educators, we have to be teams. We have to actually understand that we're not here to tell a student what to do. We're not here to tell the student who to become. We're not here to tell a student what they know. We're here to support the student grow. Everybody's different. you can't say all kids from Missouri aren't smart or all kids from Kansas are geniuses. You just can't do that. Everybody's different. So with that, make sure you have teamwork in your class. I'm going to show you IEP on here because they can explain it very well in this video I watched, and stay tuned, okay? Alright, so no copyright. I'm not stealing this. I'm not making money off of this. I am using this for class. It is YouTube, and her name is Kristen Baldwin, and it says IEP Education for General Education Teachers, okay? So I'm not trying to steal this. I'm not trying to make money. Uh-oh, where's the sound? Hang on a second. I'm back.
Thank you for joining me in today's webinar. Today begins the first of 4 webinars in our Spotlight on Special Education series. As you know, students with special needs are very near and dear to my heart. It is my passion to share my knowledge and experiences with my fellow general education teachers about students with special needs. Today we are going to be discussing IEPs. I will provide you with basic knowledge that is important for general education teachers to know and understand about the IEP process. With the growing increase of special education in our school system, it is crucial for all teachers to have a foundational understanding in order to best support IEP students in your class. Let's start with the basics. An IEP is an individualized education plan. It is a legal document that you are held accountable for in your classroom. I am sure many of you have experience with having students in your class who have an IEP. These students have always been some of my most favorite to work with. As a general education teacher, I strive to make connections with these students. When you take the time to understand the student and their needs, you will make a difference in that child's life that is far greater than any tangible gift you may receive. The following criteria makes a student eligible to have an IEP. The student has one of 14 handicapping disabilities. We will be discussing these disabilities shortly. The disability has an impact on their educational performance, and the student requires special education. I am going to provide a brief overview of the 14 eligibility categories. If you are interested in learning more about each of these disabilities, stay tuned to next week's follow-up webinar, where I will be fully discussing each one in great detail. The first eligibility is autism, followed by deaf-blindness, deafness, emotional disturbance, hearing impairment, intellectual disability, multiple disabilities, orthopedic impairment, other health impairment, specific learning disability, speech and language impairment, traumatic brain injury, visual impairment, and established medical disability. There are 6 types of IEP meetings that you could potentially be attending. An initial IEP occurs at the conclusion of the assessments conducted by the special education team to determine initial eligibility. An annual IEP occurs once a student has been determined eligible for special education and related services. A review of the IEP placement and related services occurs annually. An interim placement IEP is held when a new student enters the school with an IEP from a different school district. The staff at the new school has 30 days to review the student's out-of-district IEP and determine the correct placement for the student. A triennial IEP occurs once every 3 years. It is a reevaluation of the student to determine if a new individualized education program needs to be developed. A manifestation determination IEP is held when a student with disabilities violates a code of student conduct resulting in suspension or greater consequences. The 6th and final meeting is an addendum IEP. It is held when a participant of the IEP team wishes to make changes to the IEP during the school year. Speaking of an IEP team, the following individuals make up an IEP team. a special education teacher, a general education teacher, even if the student is not involved in a general education classroom, an administrator or local educational agency, and a parent. It is often common that additional participants are involved in an IEP team. However, these are the basic requirements involved in creating this team. So what is your role as a general education teacher? Your role is to attend IEP meetings, provide only factual information and data, provide accommodations and or modifications accordingly, and most importantly, treat the student as an equal in your classroom. Accommodations and modifications can often be a tricky concept for general education teachers to effectively implement with their IEP student. I have provided a list for your reference to make this process a little easier for you to understand. An accommodation is a strategy used to help a student with learning needs. They experience the same curriculum and have the same learning outcomes as their peers. Accommodations occur in the general education classroom. Items such as tools, materials, technology, visual aids, and timing are used to help the student access the curriculum so he or she can learn the same content as his or her peers. Additionally, the grading system is the same when providing accommodations to students. A modification is a strategy used to help a student with significant learning needs. They experience the same curriculum but have different learning outcomes as his or her peers. Modifications also occur in the general education classroom. Similar to accommodations, items such as tools, materials, technology, visual aids, and timing are used to help the students experience the curriculum. But with modifications, they are not always learning the same content as his or her peers. Additionally, the grading system is different. It is important to accurately and effectively implement accommodations and modifications with your IEP students so you are following the legalities of their IEP and providing them with the most successful academic experience. Dr. Pedro Noguera once said, "We know we are succeeding in closing the gap when the backgrounds of students cease to be the predictions of success." Always remember that you can be the difference in one child's life if you continue to believe in their success.
Amen. So with that, okay, we have to remember that every student is an individual. So anything that we do for them should be individualized. We have to remember that modifications and accommodations are different, but we can implement those modifications. Obviously, modifications are something that we would modify. Obviously, we would be on a different type of grading scale for a student. We would have to treat them a little bit differently. Accommodations, they would be on the same type of grading scale, but they would just receive some extra supplements. It's kind of tricky, but they're two different things, so just remember that. Remember that everything is collaboration, teamwork. Everybody's working together. Remember that we have to I forgot what I was just gonna say. Something popped up on my phone. We have no, I already said that. Okay, you know what, I'm gonna think about it and we're gonna get to this next video because I have just a couple more videos that I really liked when I was researching this. I was like, ooh, I want to show these. This next one that I'm going to show you is actually an IEP is in effect, okay? I want you guys to see how that looks if you haven't ever seen it before. Some of you guys are already educators and probably have seen it multiple times. But here's this one.
Okay, so sorry.
This one.
The federal law, an individualized education plan or IEP must be created for each.
Hang on a second. I was doing the trick where I watch it really fast to see if it's a good one. This one was a good one. I'm actually going to kind of speed this one up for you guys though because they talk really slow.
Education services. Jennifer and Bernard are the parents of one such student, 9-year-old Sean. As part of the IEP team, parents meet with teachers, specialists, and administrators to review Sean's educational plan. IEP teams meet at least once a year. Sean's teacher begins by reviewing his strengths.
In terms of where his sight word vocabulary is, it's measured. We measured it recently at the 4th grade level. However, his word attack skills are, I would say, around the mid-second to early 3rd. So there is a year discrepancy. But comprehension is different. When text is read to him, we know that his strong cognitive skills have allowed him to progress at a normal rate in that area in understanding text.
Is he reading more at home? Do you see him trying to read more, or since
I started a book with him the other night. He did not want it at all, and I said, well, I'll just read the first chapter to you. And then he got so interested in it. It was a new book by James Marshall that he said, oh, read me another chapter, and I did. But then he said, oh, I want to read another chapter myself. So I thought, well, at least he can get started on something. He gets interest in it a little bit.
well, he still struggles, of course, because even though his sight vocabulary is at a certain level, and I think his comprehension is even beyond that, but if he doesn't know a word, he still doesn't have the strategies firmly enough so that he can read on his own. So I'm sure it's frustrating for him because he wants to really know what happens, but it's hard to take the time to break all these words down. So my guess is that he'd much prefer someone else to read it to him.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I find that he's in Boy Scouts, and I have to read the handbook to him, and he prefers me to read it to him.
Sean's teacher moves on to discuss an area that needs improvement.
What we really needed to address at the beginning of the year was Sean's weak phonology. When he was presented with nonsense words like sizz and baz, Sean had significant difficulty isolating each sound, blending them to formulate the nonsense word. So we had to go back to the drawing board in the area of phonology and review with him the consonant sounds and also build his vowel discrimination. And that's what we've been doing this year. And we've seen some nice improvement.
Specialists next report on Sean's latest assessments.
On here are individual numbers and letters. Some of them are reversed, and Sean had to find which ones were reversed and identify them, and that for him is not a problem. He missed more reversals whenever they were couched within a word.
There really is an obvious visual difficulty here in terms of discrimination, and probably within the text when there's a lot of words on a page, it's going to be a lot harder for him.
Sean's speech therapist offers her progress report.
What happens is when Sean says those sibilant sounds like CH, SH, J, and S, air escapes through the sides of his tongue, and it's not supposed to. And I think this is all, as Lisa was saying, he has low tone, his body, and that goes along with the muscles in his face and his tongue. So we're strengthening his tongue and his cheeks and all his oral motor muscles, which will lead to more clear speech.
This discussion will lead to a revised IEP, which will set new goals for Sean.
What we'd like is to see him write more, produce more complex sentences using compound words.
What we want to see him do is start building compound sentences and not just stick to simple sentences because he speaks in compound sentences.
His writing looks great. I mean, he's doing a good job. But it is tiring for him, and my goals for next year, we have been working on typing. We're working on him being able to form small words without looking at the keyboard.
I give him a lot of credit because it took a lot of patience on his part to be able to negotiate his really, really strong comprehension skills and yet his very weak phonology, and be willing to trust in us that we were providing him with the right strategies that would, in the end, and I have confidence in this, make him a strong reader.
The revised IEP being reviewed today will lay out accommodations, specific services, and supports tailored to Sean's needs. The IEP will also describe Sean's current performance, measurable goals, and how much of Sean's education will take place with children with disabilities. Parents must consent to the plan before it's implemented. Then all of the IEP team members can work together to help Sean reach the highest possible goals in the months ahead.
Okay, with that, let me pause that. This is called Individualized Education Plan. This was by Reading Rockets on YouTube. Should have said that at the beginning. I'm sorry. I apologize. What I remembered was I wanted to emphasize that this is a legal document. We obviously don't want to have to get in trouble for not providing support, but we also want to make sure that we're following it to a T. If it says to implement certain services, we need to make sure that we're providing those services. So this is pretty much what it looks like. It's huge, pretty thick. You're going to have the front page is going to be talking about the people that attended the meeting, if it was needed. These are the people, date and time, just some background on who the student is. Then you're going to have more pages talking about goals and if they're meeting them. More pages about the expectations of the IEP and how it's going to support them, or the student, I should say. Goal page. Okay. This is also on Blackboard. Ms. Walter provided it, so if you guys want to see any of these. Okay. This is modifications and accommodations we talked, or you heard about with Kristen Baldwin on YouTube, thankfully. There's one more document on the computer that I wanted to show you. I saw this one, not a video, but it's on Edutopia. If you guys want to jot this down, or I can tell you if you want it. It's edutopia.org/blog/improving -collaboration -IEP -table Catherine with a K, and then -coach KOCH. In this article, it's called, let me tell you, IEP students benefit when we collaborate. In this article, it discusses the main points of every parent needs to be involved. You can't just have the student aimlessly wandering around the school trying to support themselves. They can't advocate for themselves. They need that support. So every parent should be involved. If they don't have the means to get involved, they don't know how to get involved, school should support them in getting involved. Also, legally, we have to provide these services to the students that need it. So if we don't know about it, we can't provide them, that's kind of like we're just kind of going under the radar to get away with something almost. It's kind of mischievous, isn't it? Sneaky, terrible. So in this one, it talks about parents needing to know their rights and to help support their children to grow and collaborate with teachers, and we should be there to fully support them with growing their children, because these are our children. We should look at these kids that we teach as our own. To wrap up the main points, this is individualized. No one size fits all. We have to remember that. We have to remember that there are different criteria for the students to meet to get into an individualized education program. We have to remember that it's a legal document. I want you guys to go back through this, watch it a couple times, write a 10-page paper, submit it to Miss Walter. She's on board with this, so I really need you to do this, about IEPs and how you're going to use them in your classroom. I'm lying, do not use that, and she's not on board with that. If she was, she would probably lose her job. That's crazy. Don't write a 10-page paper about that, because that would be ridiculous. Just think about everything you heard today. I know I'm in a lot. I'm just worried these kids are going to come out of their room and start screaming. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me. If I stumbled over something, I'm sorry. I think that is all. Have a good day.